Hey everyone, welcome to another Adobe Live. My name's Doc Reed, and I'll be hanging out with you today for the next 30 minutes, and we'll be walking through an illustration that I did in Fresco, and we're going to kick it over to the desktop and play around with moving it closer to finalization. But for right now, if you're not familiar with me, you want to check out any of the socials, you can find me on a couple of different places. I've got an Instagram, Behance, and a website. You're more than welcome to go check out any and all of them. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. I am a, you know, graphic designer, illustrator, and yeah, today we're gonna play with some portraits, so a little pop culture throwback to some Game of Thrones action. And so let's hop into Fresco real quick and show you around. But so basically, this was done with the Adobe Fresco, and what I'm going to show you is all of these layers here on the right hand side. Got my sketch layer, my base layer, and I'm going to turn some things on and off, and you can see. So started with the sketch, bring that in, and then with Fresco, I just sort of just jump in and start building the image with the base layer, then block in some facial features in some larger areas, like here we've got the hair, and we've got the keyline portrait artwork starting to dial everything in nicely. And then we've got some flyaways, and then the stubble. It needed its own layer. But yeah, so that's sort of the basics of how that was all done. I did that here with the vector brush, and when I'm adding in and adding details to the eyebrows and things of that nature, I can just whoops, got the wrong brush, I think. I like the where did it go? But yeah, I use the basic brushes. There we go. There's the taper. So I can get some of that. There we go. There's all the tapers. But yeah, so I just will build up the shapes using it this way. Doing that all, it's a little time consuming sometimes when you're making all the stubble and building out these character features and whatnot, but it's also very soothing. You can get in here, especially with the hair and some of those extra details and things of that nature, getting in, dialing down the size of the brush. You can get some pretty fine lines. Nice little flyaways, just sort of add to that bit of realism in a very stylized portrait. From there, we can add a couple more things. I usually will have that base layer, the key line, and then a midtone like that. So we've got the just the bare minimum of shape and lighting to sort of help set the portrait off. And again, you can tackle these several different ways. I like tackling them more in the line with like a woodcut. I loved printmaking and learning all about the techniques and tools of that. And with the vector brush in Fresco, it allowed me to emulate much of that technique and aesthetic digitally, which is awesome. And I mean, you can't do this with raster or actual woodcut. When you're locked in with a piece of wood, you're locked in at that size. So I like having the vector brush in Fresco being able to allow me to make this exponentially larger. If we wanted to blow this up and put it on the side of a wall or a building, we could do that. We just have to find a printer that would be able to do that, print at that scale. So once we've got the file the way wanted it, and the layers are all separated out in Illustrator, most of the time we'll just export that, kick it over to the desktop, and we can start noodling. But one thing to think of, a lot of how I approach work is in like with a screen printing mind. So I will build a lot of shapes and things of that nature, trying to utilize 2 to 3 colors to get 4 to 5 colors, just with overprinting, which is sort of like using multiply in Illustrator. In screen printing, you add a little bit of a transparent like base, which just adds a little bit of translucency to your inks and makes them, you know, go down a little bit thinner so you can see the previous layers of ink underneath it. A lot of times, like I said, it acts as a multiply blend layer and allows some additional depth. So for example, let me throw another layer in here. Move this up here to the top. If we were to, let's see, I'm going to use this layer. So, oh, and here's another thing with Fresco. If you want to smooth out your brushes, all right, that little feature there is wonderful. You can see how wobbly, you know, the caffeine jitters are, and you can smooth those out real nicely. So if you're wanting to do hair and you're working with like a 2-color print and you're wanting to look like 3, you can build out the look, very stylized, graphic, you know, comic book type of a hair, and then come back in instead of actually doing it with 2 colors. Let me turn off that sketch real quick. You can oh yeah, let me put that on another layer. So that's on top. So now we've got this base layer, and I'm just going to fill this in here. All right, so normally that'll be something where we, you know, drop it down into multiply. You can see all of those layers underneath it. We drop the opacity, you can see that even more. And that's sort of what the transparent ink will do, or the transparent like base when you add it to your inks if you're doing screen printing. A lot of times I like that aesthetic built into my digital illustrations, whether they're going to get sent to print or not. So that is a lot of what will happen when I'm building them out. And a lot of times you can come back in, if you hold down the touch modifier, we can, you know, work back in to the, so we can get that nice subtractive drawing, or negative, I guess it's subtractive drawing. But then right there, I've got the paper color. If we wanted to print on orange paper, if we put down the orange, we've got that. We've got the magenta color on top. And where it's coming through, we've got, you know, right there, we've got 3 colors. We've got that white hair right there in the middle, and then we've got the pink where it's overlaying on the orange. And then if we wanted it, so we've got the dark overprint, and then it goes right into the light full color right there. So that's just a printmaking trick hack that I like doing with my files. So let's jump over into Illustrator, and we can see this has got some fun textures and brushes and things of that nature added to it. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump through a couple things and get this prepped, because a lot of times when it comes out of Fresco, we've got some additional points and things of that nature that we need to clean up so that Illustrator will optimize or run optimized and as best as it can. So one of the things that is good to do is, let's see, turn off some of this stuff so we can just work with a particular layer. So like right off the bat, we've got a lot. So one of the things I like doing is selecting all the points. And so with right now, we've got 2,913 points selected. If I select all of that, yeah, almost 47,500 points. So there's a couple things that we can do. If you've got Astute Graphics, they have a great plugin that'll help you do that. But you can do this in Illustrator without any plugins. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into that real quick. I'm just going to start with these two layers. So, all right, we've got 37 points. If we come up to Path and go over to Simplify, this is going to open up a panel that immediately is going to, give us several options here. If we wanted to crank it all the way down, that's going to dramatically reduce the amount of points that are going to show up in our document. That's going to make our files faster. It's going to make our files smaller. All around, going to be a little bit better performance than having to work with that load on the software. As you can see, there are a lot of points it's trying to process and work through. It does take a little bit of time, especially when you've got a document that has several points. So that'll be something just be mindful of as you're working through it. Let me see if I can show you another option. If the pinwheel's gonna keep me. I realized I didn't have the chat up. Let me pull the chat up real quick and see what all is going on while that is processing. And if you are in the chat, I'd love to know a little bit about where you're from and what's going on. And so drop a note in there. Let me know where you're from. It is taking its sweet time to. So I'm going to just try to cancel this. I may have to force quit. Let's see if I'm getting any dialog boxes I'm not seeing. All right. Here we go. All right. I am going to, yeah, we're not getting a response from Illustrator. Okay. You've seen all of my socials. So let's, the reason I was working in Illustrator, the 2022 version, was I wanted to show you a hack because I was always having difficulty whenever I would update getting files to getting the new version of Illustrator to save and import my settings and things of that nature. So what I had found, it should be able to process and bring them in. If it doesn't, one of the things that you can do is come up to File, Export, sorry. Where did it go? Document, Edit, Export Settings. And what that'll do is that'll export your settings. You select a file, put them in, it'll save all your exports. And then when you go into basically all that does is it'll save all of your workspaces that you've dialed in the way that you want your Adobe programs to work. So when you go to open up the Illustrator document in 2023, you can then come up here to edit my settings, import settings. I did this the other day just to try it out, and it was a wonderful thing. So you can pop in our new settings. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it currently, but that has saved me so much time looking for the folders and trying to move things around from the documents and workspace. They are buried in your computer. So that's way faster. So let's jump in. And the reason I had started with 2022 version of Illustrator was to show you that. And because we're going to jump into some of the generative color, and that is something that you have to have the 2023 version for. So that was a workaround jumping into those spaces. So with jumping back into let me get rid of a bunch of this, and we'll just pick a couple of these. All right, so as you can see, a lot of extra points that aren't necessarily needed. So again, we'll come up to path, we'll go to simplify. That immediately takes it down from a massive amount. It says it's got 400 points there. This button here it's got sparkles because it is magic. It's the auto simplify, and that will find the best medium of, we don't want all of the points. See, there's 950. If we go all the way down to here, we got 207. But if we hit the auto simplify, it finds that sweet spot. So we're going to do that. And then one of the other things that is super helpful is if I turned it into outline mode, you can see where all of those individual brush strokes that I made in Fresco, they are coming in. Oops, that's my background layer. So what I like doing is, because there's several points here that don't need to be in that document because of the way it's built out. These are sort of redundant points. And so what you can do is do a select all. Let me just combine what's on that layer. So select all of those things, come down to Pathfinder and combine them. And that immediately gets rid of all of those points that were in here. That cleans up the file quite a bit and allows things to move a little bit faster. So I'm going to do a real quick, another path simplify. And again, we're working with, 65, almost 6,500 points. If we go all the way up, where are we at? Yeah. Okay. So let's see about cutting it in half. That'll greatly speed up the program. And so that's the second thing I'll do. After I get the drawing imported in from Fresco, I'll bring it in, I'll start streamlining, I'll combine some shapes just to help level everything out and make it as streamlined as possible. So here, we've just got nice shapes. There's no overlaps here in the eyes. Where I haven't done it here in the hair, those can all be added because that is on this layer. And I think a lot of times I will keep layers separate, especially like with the flyaways. Yeah, there we go. I'll build those on top of each other just for that added depth, so that when I'm drawing hair underneath, those last little details like the flyaways and things of that nature for the hair in particular, I can just drop them right in on top. So it's not always going to be you can't always just like group everything and combine with Pathfinder. You're going to lose a little bit of some details, but it's just sort of a work in progress of figuring out how that all works. So with And I do try to keep colors separated out. So you lock that. And if you, I use Y, comes up here, gives you this, the magic wand here in Illustrator. It's sort of like the quick way of getting around the select similar. If you want to do it that way, come up here to select same fill color or stroke color if you're looking for strokes, and that will select everything that is that same deep magenta or whatever color you've selected. So at that point, since those are all on that top layer, I think they're all on the top layer, we can combine those and get rid of those additional points. And if we want, we can throw that back behind. So we let these little flyaways that we've got in the mix, they can come to the front. And yeah, so again, this is just sort of basic file management, cleanup situations. And let's jump into what this looks like with everything else turned on. So we've got our background face, and our, wait, there's our base color face, and some flyaway hairs. So this is sort of where we were at when we were in Fresco. And so one of the things that I like doing is coming in, adding some brushes and things of that nature. Kind of show you some of the things I'm working on. I haven't put these out yet, but these are some wild brushes that I made with a soda pen that as soon as I finish developing them, I'm going to drop them up in the shop for anyone to take a look at. I'm going to have a sample pack on Thursday. So if you tune back in, I'll have a link for a download for that, as well as a trial of another bit of texture that we're going to go over on Thursday when we add brushes or brush strokes and textures to the piece. So one of the other cool things with the new Illustrator 2023 version is the generative color. Most of the times in the past, what I would have to do would be, I don't know why those are synced, but let's lock all of that. That's right. I selected all and did the blend. That's why that's doing that. So we'll just copy paste in place. There we go. And turn off these slashes. There, that should fix that. Okay, so we're back. So one of the things that happens is you can come up to Object, Edit, Recolor Artwork, or Generative Recolor, or you can see the little tool panel that was up there. So if we want, we can type in, prompts to get things. Adobe's wonderful and has a couple of sample prompts already generated, so we can see what this would look like with, a yellow submarine as the prompt. We'll spit out a couple of different color options. And again, this is why you simplify your paths and things of that nature, so it doesn't have to crank through as much of this stuff. So I've got a larger file with 3 of these images it's working through. But so what that'll do while it's thinking is it'll pull up a couple of different palette options, give you a couple of variants. If you wanted to generate some more options, you could hit this. I am digging this guy, not too far off. That's pretty fun. So what you can do from there is, if if it's close but not all the way, you can jump into the advanced mode, and here you can sort of jump in and dial in some of these colors, get it a little bit more what you're looking for. And use your hue saturation sliders. I'm not sure why it did that. Let's see, recolor, there we go. And move it around, tweak around, figure out what is working, what's not. Those are a couple of palettes I saved. Obviously, you want to try to get the light and darks to be similar. This one's a little too light. Cool. And so that's the generative color, the rework tool. Again, that was just here in the edit colors, color preset. And this is one I did last evening, playing with it, dialed in the colors, got it a little bit more moody the way I liked it. And yeah, started dropping in some of those background textures and brushes. And we'll go over that more on Thursdays, back here at 1 o'clock Eastern. So thanks everyone for jumping in and walking through the workflow with me. And yeah, I will see you all back here on Thursday.